All right, hey guys, so just wanted to show you the difference between our installs and a standard shop's installs, right? So typical shop, they're not, when you're paying for one of these standard installs and the price is really low, you have to understand what they're doing versus what we're doing, right? So in this situation, you can see we've actually removed the inner wheel liner. And the reason we do that is in order to be able to follow the factory wire harness of the vehicle in order to maintain the integrity of the car and also to ensure that none of our wiring is going to get destroyed. Because if it's running alongside the factory wiring, the only way our wire is getting destroyed is if the stock wiring is getting destroyed. And at that point, our radar failing or laser failing is the least of your problems because the car's electrical system is failing, right? So just to show you, and then next, obviously we're removing the bumper, but you know, here we go again. We have our crash wrap tape to protect the vehicle from being scratched, and we also tape the edge so that as we're putting on and removing the parts, if they do happen to, by any chance, graze the vehicle, we're hitting tape and not the paint. So another thing that we do to ensure that we don't damage the car. The other advantage to taking off the bumper is this is the factory wiring harness, right? So you can see it runs from behind here, around here, this way. There's no way for you to run the wire with the factory wire harness with the bumper on. You must remove the bumper. You'll see later, we'll have our harness ran. And this is the original disconnect for the bumper. This is the disconnect to all the rear sensors, camera, lights, whatever's on the rear bumper. What we'll end up doing is our harness will run and our connectors will be right here next to the original connector of the vehicle so that when the dealership, the body shop, anything goes to remove the bumper, our connectors are here also. They don't have to hunt for them. They don't have to chop them because they didn't realize that they were here or here and didn't take the time to realize that you could just unhook them, unclipped a couple wire ties and removed it. We don't want them to think. We want them to just see the connectors and go, oh, okay, untwist these connectors, boom, now we can service the car. When they go to put it back on, boom, our connectors, you'll see they'll all be labeled so that they have no way of putting them in incorrectly. And again, another reason why it's not a standard install, right? This is what you're paying for. You're paying for it to be done properly and for it to be serviceable down the road, not even just by us, but by the body shop, the mechanic. I mean, anybody that goes to do anything to this vehicle. So another thing that we do versus a standard install. Again, these are all things that they're not going to do when you're paying these low prices for these radar laser installs, right? Again, not because they can't do them, but because they don't have the time and the materials to do it, right? Materials is not so much, but it does take time, right? So this is the standard cable, right? Which is black. It'd be like, well, why would you wrap a black cable? It's already black. You're not going to see it. But what we do is this is a Tessa high abrasion resistant tape, right? So by wrapping it, what that does, it adds another layer of protection to the cable in case it gets scuffed or pinched or a rock chip or anything might damage the cable. We have one extra layer of protection. Plus it also makes it look more uniform and makes it match more of the original wiring, right? So if you can see which one of those stands out more, right? The shiny brand new cable or this cable that's wrapped in very similar tape. So now when the dealership takes the car apart, check that out. Tell me, see how that's, you know, when it's taped or everything, you would not know, right? If you see that or 4 or 5 of those, you would think, what the hell is that? Right? So again, it's another thing to kind of keep it looking factory and ensure that the quality of the car and the integrity all stays as close to original as possible. By it looking more like it came with the vehicle, the dealership is much less likely, or the body shop, whatever, is much less likely to throw you under the bus and say, oh, well, it's your aftermarket equipment causing this damage. If they see it done at a very high level, they're much less likely to say that it's done improperly, because it's like, okay, show me how it's done improperly. And they'll be like, well, look at all these wirings. Well, they're running with your factory harness. So if these are bad, then your factory harness on the vehicle is bad, is what you're telling me. And obviously they're not gonna say that, right? So that's why we follow the factory harnesses. That's why we use the stock connection points or locate our connectors at the stock location points. So just wanted to show you and kind of keep that in mind when you're comparing another shop's installs versus, let's say, one of our installs.